91 throughout the race. Ron Tishner hounded Lawrence. He was inside, he was outside. Now, on a normal day, Ron Tishner would make mincemeat of this young man, but Tishner is feeling the effects of that crash. And couple that with the fact that Lawrence is probably riding the race of his life, and he had an interesting situation. So with 2 laps to go, Tishner did this. He just drove hard into the corner. It was a tight pass situation, and it was the only way Tishner felt he could get the job done. And to the delight of the crowd, he did just that. Drove tight into that corner, and he hit the brakes, and it's what they call a block pass. So with 1 lap to go, Tishner took over the #1 spot with Lawrence right behind him. And I'd have to say that Lawrence is not too happy about the whole situation. And again, Tishner does not have it all together. He's riding in kind of a jerky motion. His lines are not quite right. His timing seems to be just a little bit off. In a later conversation with Tishner, we found out indeed his back was bothering him, and it was hurting him out there to ride. But he wanted to make it to the main, and was going to do anything that he had to do just that. So Ron Tishner is going to coast home the winner in the last chance qualifier and take that final transfer position with Phil Lawrence running in the #2 spot. That'll get him nowhere except a seat on the bus to go home. Checkered flag time, and again you can see the huge crowd is behind Ron Tishner. He was mighty happy to make it into that main event.
A courageous performance indeed. Phil Lawrence comes home second. Musselman, McElroy, and Andrews round out the top 5, but all for naught. Tishner's going to the final.
And with that last chance qualifier, qualifying is over for the main events that will be held here this evening. Now, earlier, though, we had some other type of qualifying going on. It wasn't even professional racing, but it was exciting.
It's intense, Larry, and the prize is just as big as winning a professional Supercross championship if you happen to be one of the amateur riders hoping to get a chance to take part in the Amateur National Finals coming up in Oklahoma City.
We'll be back right after this with more Camel Supercross. Welcome back to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. It's Camel Supercross time. On the line, the main event in the 125cc class. Now, we've not talked much about the 125s. It's kind of the proving ground, the farm system, if you will, of the Camel Supercross series. Point standings heading into the Charlotte round. Denny Stevenson on top, followed by Mike Jones, Jeremy Buell, Barry Karsten, Doug Henry. This is round number 8 of the Eastern 125cc region. Denny Stevenson has won so far 5 of the main events. So he's the young man to watch. He'll be number 27 aboard the yellow Suzuki when the gate drops. Now, the starter is stationed in the middle of the starting straightaway, holding that card up with the number 30 on it. That indicates to the rider that we're 30 seconds away from the start of the main event. It's his signal to make sure the bike is in gear and to start flipping and revving the throttle. He'll turn it sideways momentarily. When he does, the rider will know that within the next 5 to 10 seconds, the gate will drop. Now, you see each one of those gates. There it is. The card is sideways. Each one of the gates is an individual section. So if one rider jumps the gun, he's going to get caught. The rest of them will make it out on into the first corner. Gate is down. The start is underway for round number 8 of the Eastern 125cc region. And we've got a rider down already. That's number 279, Jason Langford, Texas rider. He's going to be out of this one. A long way to come back from the back of the pack in the 125cc main event.
If he does manage to get to the front, he's going to find Mike Jones leading this mass of 125, thundering through the red dust here. Oh, trouble. That is Jimmy Eichel flipping and tumbling to a stop. He tangled there with Kenny Kazar, and they are both down. And again, they're going to end up at the back of the pack. Up front, it's Jones with Stevenson in hot pursuit.
I imagine, Dave, someone is saying, what was that long cellophane-looking thing that was dangling off his goggles? That's exactly what it was. They're tear-offs. They're in a thin strip that is in a roller mechanism up on the goggles, and when he went down, that mechanism evidently broke, so the tear-off system for his goggles are ruined for the night. He's going to have to look through one pair of glasses, and that's it.
Take a look at the field now. Here coming through your frame, number 27 is Denny Stevenson. He's back about 5th or 6th as Mike Jones leads this race over number 74, Billy Whitley. Number 69 is Doug Henry in hot pursuit. A bad start for Stevenson, who has dominated the region. Mike Jones, the man who feels he's been overshadowed by Stevenson this year, is out front, right where he wants to be.
Dave, I never like to wish anyone bad luck on a racetrack, but I have to be honest. When we look at Denny Stevenson coming up through the pack, we're looking at good racing. When Stevenson gets a hole shot, it's all over. It's been that way all year long. So the best racing is about to develop on this racetrack. With Jones out in front, he's second place in the point standings. He's the guy that has not won this year, but each week he gets a little bit closer and he tries a little bit harder, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him pop one before the year is over. Matter of fact, he could do it right here tonight at Charlotte's Memorial Stadium. Out in front is Mike Jones. Now, there's the rider in second. That's Billy Whitley. Here comes Jeremy Buell. Now, Buell has moved into the number 2 position now. There's Jeremy Buell, number 58. Behind him, Doug Henry takes third. Then Billy Whitley. And look at this. Number 27, Denny Stevenson, is now running in the number 5 position. Stevenson has come through the pack. He's closed down the leaders. Here's where he'll make his presence felt, Dave.
I would say he'll make his presence felt in a big way. My prediction would be that Denny Stevenson will zing right through this trio, but let's see if, in fact, Whitley's got something to bring to the dance. Whitley out of Texas, Stevenson out of Omaha, Nebraska. Here is the move by Stevenson as he tries to set up for the inside pass. He's got Whitley handled no problem. Next in his sights will be Doug Henry. Stevenson is simply the fastest man in the 125 class. I don't think any of these guys can stop him.
Well, he has been all year long, and nothing is going to change here tonight. That's obvious. He is on the gas and roll. Look at that. He moves to the inside, passes both of them. He takes over the number 2 position just like that. So Mike Jones is out in front. There's a shot of Jones. Here comes Denny Stevenson in second. In third, it's Jeremy Buell. Fourth will be Doug Henry, rider number 69. There's a shot of Henry. And then Billy Whitley. But the man of the hour, the guy that's really picking him up and laying him down here in Charlotte, North Carolina, number 27 is Denny Stevenson.
Question now, Larry, you alluded to it earlier. Can Stevenson go up there and catch Jones? Whoa, big trouble. Jeremy Buell on his nose. Tried to keep up with Stevenson once Stevenson made the pass, and that proved to be a brutal mistake. He took a pretty good pounding right there. That's too bad, too. Buell was in third spot and in good position. He's now downfield, and we'll be back with more after this.
Welcome back to Charlotte, North Carolina, Memorial Stadium. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain for ESPN. We're in the middle of the 125cc main event. It's Camel Supercross time. Mike Jones is the leader. He has all he wants right now from Denny Stevenson. And look at that. Stevenson got a good drive up that long set of whoop-de-doos, took the inside line, and all of a sudden, Jones is back in second. Stevenson, our new leader.
So much for the suspense, so much for the question. Can Stevenson catch Jones? He certainly can. The interesting thing to me is going to be this kid's future for next year. Will he be the Jeff Matasevich or Damon Bradshaw of 1991? Because he has certainly been dominant in 125 this year. Jones is no slouch. The kid has international experience. He's back from Europe to his home in Pennsylvania to race stateside in 1990, but he is simply no match for Denny Stevenson.
Well, throughout the Camel Series, we've been talking about rookies, and you just named a couple of them, Matasevich, Bradshaw. Kidrowski was another one that came from that 1989 125 graduating class. And it would look like Stevenson is set to follow in their footsteps. You talk with the young man, and he's very confident that he can do just that. Of course, the future will tell itself, and we'll have to wait and see.
Jones has certainly done his best to try to keep Stevenson at bay this year. In fact, they had some pretty good contact in the Michigan round of the series here on ESPN. But for right now, Jones pretty well has his hands full just trying to keep number 69, Doug Henry, at bay. Henry, who has really not been a factor in terms of podium finishes, first, second, or third, has used his consistency to rank 5th in the series standings. You see Stevenson go by. Now here comes the battle for second, and Henry's putting the pressure on, Larry.
And right behind them, Jimmy Eichel. You recall Eichel crashing in the early moments, and Eichel not a factor in this main event. He's a full lap down. The eyes of the crowd are drawn to this battle for the number 2 position. Mike Jones, number 51, right behind him, number 69, Doug Henry. Henry has not been a factor throughout this series. He's one of those riders that comes out of the East, is extremely fast, but has his good days and bad days. I think, quite frankly, when he started riding this 125cc series, Dave, the crowd, the size of the crowds, the Supercross tracks, I think got to him just a little bit. But he's getting better week in and week out, and you can just see the progress that this young man is making, and most certainly he's making some here tonight.
Well, he's got his hands full with Jones, but there's the inside move up the whoop-de-doos. Jones looked over, saw it coming, and appeared pretty much defenseless. simply couldn't do anything about it. I don't know if Jones is tired, but he has definitely let Doug Henry go, and Henry will be in position here to score his best finish of the year. You talk about the crowd, it's worth noting that here at Charlotte, they are right on top of the racetrack. So even though at this new event, first time for Charlotte, the numbers are not quite as big as we've seen in some of the other stadiums, you certainly have a great sense of the crowd here as they watch Denny Stevenson heading for what he hopes will be his 6th win and 8 starts in this series this year. This man has dominated.
It might be well to point out that the only 2 times that Denny Stevenson has lost, we go back to Houston, it was the 2nd event of the year, and he was actually jumped on. Mike Craig came up behind him and jumped on top of him. That put him out of that race. And then just a couple of weeks ago, Stevenson falling twice in the same main event. So Stevenson has certainly, as we've said a couple of times, been the class of this field, and he's the class out here tonight as he's romping away with the main event, the 125 Eastern Regional main event here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
He has the support of U.S. Suzuki. He is the kind of kid that the factories look for. A lot of personality, a lot of poise on and off the racetrack. And increasingly, that is becoming the name of the game. There are a lot of kids out there who can ride motorcycles fast. In order to get that coveted factory ride, you've got to be able to go out and be a spokesman for the company. And Stevenson is the kind of kid that they feel has that potential. You saw the interval there, back to the now 2nd place, Doug Henry, as this 125 main event heads for a conclusion.
The 125cc Eastern Regional main event here in Charlotte, North Carolina at Memorial Stadium is winding down. We're looking at just a couple of laps to go. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. Thank you for joining us here on ESPN. It's Camel Supercross time. Coming up will be the Camel 250cc main event, as this one is just about history. Denny Stevenson, rider number 27, came from out of the pack to take the lead at about the midway point. He's not been headed. He's running away from the field. And, Dave, we've said it once, we've said it twice, we've said it several times. It bears repeating several more. This is a talented young man, comes out of Omaha, Nebraska, on the last lap of this one, and he's going far in this sport of Supercross.
No doubt about that. He's having a lot of fun out there, Larry. It's ironic, I guess, that on this weekend that started with mud on this racetrack, we've ended up with red North Carolina clay dust to mark the conclusion of Stevenson's quest. But the point is that he has handled the conditions, ruddy and dusty though they may be. Looking back over his shoulder, he knows he's got them all covered. This is a cruise from here, waving and acknowledging the crowd and doing what he does best, which is win Supercross races. We've seen it 6 times this year. He's a very, very impressive young racer.
He has he's going through the corners. He's even taking his hands off the bars to wave through the corners. Now there's an act of confidence if I've ever seen it. Look at that. He is happy. He knows, he gets this way when he comes from out of the pack. Now there's Doug Henry running in 2nd. When Stevenson gets a hole shot and runs away with it, he acts one way. But when he comes from out of the pack, he knows what kind of performance that he's turned in, and he reacts accordingly. He's taken the checkered flag. He's just coasting around this racetrack now, acknowledging the cheers. So Denny Stevenson wins it, Doug Henry 2nd, Mike Jones 3rd, Billy Whitley finishes 4th, Talon Boland 5th. Let's go to Denny Stevenson.
Right line, Mike and I banged handlebars, and I backed off instead of trying to go down like I had the past couple weeks. And I figured it'd be better to get out mid-pack than last, and it worked out.
Indeed, it did work out as Denny Stevenson pads his points lead. Mike Jones holds on to the number 2 position in the standings, followed by Jeremy Buell, Barry Karsten, and rounding out the top 5, Doug Henry. And we'll be back with more Supercross right after this. It's main event time at Charlotte's Memorial Stadium. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. On the line, the 250 main event. The Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge, round 13 of the Camel Supercross Series. The 250cc class is just about set to go. Now, there are still 6 events remaining in the Camel Supercross Series, so we've got a dogfight. Matasevich on top, but by no means is that lead secure as Jeff Stanton, the defending series champion, is right on his rear wheel. Dave, we're just about set to go. This should be a good one.
Well, it should, Larry. It's the hometown advantage for Damon Bradshaw. We didn't see him in the points graphic by virtue of the injury that kept him out of a couple of races earlier in the year. But you can bet that with all these Charlottonians looking on tonight, you're going to see a lot of Damon Bradshaw up front. We're underway.
We've not talked much about that, but boy, are you right. And there is Bradshaw. Whoa, he caught himself a wheelie coming down that long straightaway. Took it all the way to the wall. He came out of it all right. Jeff Ward is the leader. That looks like Matasevic right behind him on the inside. It is Matasevic. Whoa, Matasevic! The white flag, if there was one. I had no idea this race was coming to a close.
I don't think it flew, and I wonder if Stanton knew that he was coming to the checkered flag, and that might have been a factor for LaRocco. In any case, it made no difference in terms of the finish order up front because Damon Bradshaw had this one won. That checkered flag is all his. It's now being displayed to the rest of the field, but this place is going crazy for Damon Bradshaw.
Well, the responsibility ultimately lies with the rider or the driver if it might be a car race. The flagger is out there to give the signals to let them know where they are, but the responsibility is in the eyes and in the minds of the drivers and riders. And that's the only way to look at that one. So whether they knew, realized, or whatever, they'll still ultimately be responsible for their position on the racetrack and their actions the last few corners. So Jeff Stanton, whether he knew or not, is immaterial. He got third, LaRocco got second, and Damon Bradshaw is about as happy as anyone I have ever seen.
This place is up for grabs, Larry. They are so thrilled to see their hometown hero win on his hometown racetrack.
I've seen him win races since he was just a mini bike rider, but I've never seen him like this. Look at the crowd. Unbelievable. Damon Bradshaw. He's the winner. Boy, is he happy. Throws the gloves out to the crowd. He's just standing in front of the crowd, just taking the cheers.
Reminds me a lot of Seattle. We saw this when Larry Ward won in the Kingdom. We see it again now. Young riders, new talent, and hordes of fans who just think that they are wonderful. This is nice.
Oh, is it ever. Damon Bradshaw is pumped.
Tell you what, Larry, the cheers of this crowd are as painful to the ears of Jeff Stanton as they are pleasant to the ears of this kid. Stanton got whipped tonight. He got whipped by a youngster, and the youngster's fans are now paying him tribute. This is great. Give a listen.
Oh, he's not through yet. Look at this. He's going to take another victory lap with a checkered flag. A well-deserved lap, I might add. You know, if we go back and think about that finish, Jeff Stanton did indeed get whipped. You have to wonder what was running through his mind, whether or not he knew LaRocco was there, whether or not because of not receiving a white flag signifying the last lap, he, even as you pointed out, knew that it was the last lap. But Stanton made a big error there. He should have really been on the gas because he didn't gain the points that he could have on Jeff Matasevic, and that's where it's going to be costly in the long run.
If he loses that title by a couple of 3 points, he'll remember tonight. This kid will always remember tonight the night he won the big race, the first ever Supercross in Charlotte, North Carolina. LaRocco second by a couple of inches over Stanton. Matasevic fourth, Ward fifth, Stanton and Matasevic the championship rivals.
Well, that's the top five. Let's take a look at the next five. Ron Tishner, after surviving a terrible crash in his semifinal, finishes sixth, followed by Ward, Cooper, Kedrowski, O'Mara. Let's hear from Bradshaw.
It feels really good to win here in front of my hometown, the first Supercross here in Charlotte, and I can say I won it. I had to work hard tonight, and I've had to work all year. Me and Jeff had some contact out there, but it was really good race, and he put good passes on me, and I did the same to him. And I think it made it more interesting for the fans and make you all want to come back next year.
Again, Dave, the key here is Jeff Stanton did not gain the kind of points that he was looking for.
Matasevic hangs on to an 8-point lead despite a fourth-place finish tonight. Ward, Bale, and Kedrowski round out the top five. Big party tonight in Charlotte for Damon Bradshaw. What a celebration this is going to be. This is going to go on into the night.
I don't know which was most impressive, Damon Bradshaw's ride to win in front of his home crowd or Mike LaRocco's incredible charge through the pack to take second.
Two great on-track performances, no doubt about it, Larry. I like the Bradshaw crowd reaction here. Just spectacular to see that many people on their feet and cheering. It's great for the series, too. It means we've got good young riders coming up. Second time this year we've seen a rookie win in front of the home folks. We saw Larry Ward do that in Seattle. Also, we know that all of those fans are going to be back next year. It bodes very well for the future of Supercross.
It certainly does. Question now is, what do we do for an encore? Well, you'll find out if you stay tuned in upcoming weeks to ESPN for the ongoing Supercross series. Next week, it's the Big Apple. We'll be in the Meadowlands Giant Stadium. Be sure to tune in. For Dave Despain, I'm Larry Myers, and we'll see you next week right here on ESPN.